So I now want to shift to Kyrie Irving and James Harden, along with Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. It kind of sucks for the Brooklyn Nets right now as I speak today because James Harden is currently dealing with a hamstring injury. There's no timetable as to when he's going to return for in the NBA playoffs. I'd assume he's going to be ready potentially for an NBA Finals matchup if the Brooklyn Nets are able to get there. He could come back for potentially the Eastern Conference Finals. Kyrie Irving recently got injured versus the Milwaukee Bucks. That the injury didn't look as serious as people I think are making it out to be, but Kyrie Irving, he's day to day. He could be out for the next couple of weeks, potentially. We never know. Let me just say this. If Kyrie Irving and James Harden are both going to be out for the remainder of the playoffs, and again, I doubt that's possible, but if that's the case, the Brooklyn Nets are not going to win the NBA championship because I believe in today's NBA, ideally, you need two superstar level players to win a championship. So as long as, Kevin Durant has Kyrie Irving or James Harden by his side, one or the other, he doesn't need both. He just needs one by his side. I think Brooklyn's title hopes are definitely well and alive. I could see a situation where all three are back playing together, but the only team in recent memory that I know that won a championship without a superstar level player was the Dirk Nowitzki-led Dallas Mavericks. I think that final series was more about how bad LeBron James and the Miami Heat were rather than how good Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks were. Even though Dallas had a very good team, they had a ton of depth, okay? And you look at Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors, they didn't necessarily have a second superstar besides Kawhi Leonard, but they had about 5, 6, 7 guys that could explode from anywhere from 15 to 20 points on any given night. That Raptors team was loaded. And the year before Kawhi Leonard got there, they were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So it's not like Kawhi Leonard inherited a bad team. That team was very, very good. But usually you need stars to win a championship, okay? And right now, currently, the Brooklyn Nets are in a sticky situation because versus Milwaukee, the series is tied at 2 games apiece. Milwaukee has all the momentum. But here's the thing, people. I'm holding Kevin Durant accountable. This series is not over, in my opinion, nor should it be over for the Brooklyn Nets. If you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, of course you're disappointed that Kyrie Irving and James Harden can't play. Maybe you don't think your team can win the championship this year. But as far as if Brooklyn is out of this series versus Milwaukee, I'm not saying that at all, okay? And like I said, I'm holding Kevin Durant accountable, okay? Injuries to Kyrie Irving and James Harden are not an excuse for Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets, specifically Kevin Durant, okay? Now, if Brooklyn loses this series, we pretty much all know that's probably going to be due to injuries, but here's the thing. Kevin Durant is an historically great player, a 4-time scoring champion, a former league MVP, 2-time finals MVP. To me, he's the most talented scorer in NBA history. And right now, Kevin Durant is in the conversation for arguably being the best player in all of basketball. And if these things are true, Brooklyn, if Kevin Durant is great, and his role players step up like Blake Griffin, like Joe Harris, like Bruce Brown, if Kevin Durant, is historically great and the role players step up, Brooklyn should be able to hold it down and win this series. All you're asking from Kevin Durant is to win 2 of the next 3 games. I know it's tough because Milwaukee matches up well with Brooklyn and they have all the momentum. But all I'm asking is for Kevin Durant not to be great for a 7-game series, but to be great for a bare minimum of 3 games. Okay? All Brooklyn has to do is win 2 of the next 3, and they're going to have 2 of the next 3 games at home, okay? And this is what Kevin Durant gets paid the big bucks for, okay? Kevin Durant gets paid $35+ million, some crazy number like that. He gets paid all the money for situations like this. When Kyrie Irving's down, when James Harden is down, Brooklyn should be able to rely on Kevin Durant to give them 35 to 40 points, facilitate the offense, and elevate the players around them. That's what we envision when Kevin Durant signed with the Brooklyn Nets, that he could elevate in moments like this. And by the way, no one was giving Aaron Rodgers a pass last year when Devontae Adams missed a couple of games due to injury. No one is going to give Patrick Mahomes a pass if Tyreek Hill's not playing. No one gave Tom Brady passes in New England for years when wide receivers like Rob Gronkowski, even though he's a tight end, miss games. No one gives LeBron James excuses. Everyone was holding Steph Curry accountable this year. I'm holding Kevin Durant to this same standard, okay? Because I know how great Kevin Durant can be. And I've seen Kevin Durant play at an MVP level when it matters most in the playoffs. I've seen Kevin Durant win a league MVP when Russell Westbrook was, down and out with injuries for most of the season in 2014. Kevin Durant carried Oklahoma City to the playoffs and things like that, okay? All you're asking is for Kevin Durant to hold it down for 2 or 3 games. Now, if Nikola Jokic were in this situation, then I say, the series is over. Because while Jokic is a MVP level player, he's not Kevin Durant, okay? I hold Kevin Durant to a different standard. And Kevin Durant has played with a lot of great players in his career. It's time for Kevin Durant to deliver the goods, because in Golden State, he had a lot of help. In Oklahoma City, he played on some really good rosters. And in Brooklyn, so far this season, James Harden was able to carry the load when Kevin Durant was hurt. Kyrie Irving is coming off his best season as a pro. It is now time for Kevin Durant to step it up, okay? He gets paid the big bucks for moments like this. And again, all you're really asking Kevin Durant to do is hold it down in this series, hold it down a little bit for the Philadelphia 76ers series, or potentially the Atlanta Hawks series in the next round when the Brooklyn Nets hopefully, win the series and face either Atlanta or Philadelphia. Because I think that James Harden and or Kyrie Irving could return by the time the Eastern Conference Finals roll around. That's how I feel. But look, Kevin Durant is going to get Blake Griffin involved more. Joe Harris is going to have to step up. Bruce Brown's going to have to step up. Jeff Green's going to have to step up. But it's not like Kevin Durant is out there playing with a bunch of scrubs. Blake Griffin's pretty good. Joe Harris is pretty good. Bruce Brown is a really good role player. Jeff Green's a really good role player. Brooklyn will need to really just, space out the floor and rely on ball movement, and they need to match the physicality of the Milwaukee Bucks. Kevin Durant's been getting pushed around by PJ Tucker. That is unacceptable for Kevin Durant, over the past couple of games, so he needs to be better. And Steve Nash needs to make better adjustments, because the last couple of games, I honestly think Mike Budenholzer has outcoached Steve Nash. So that's all I'm going to say on this subject. The bottom line is, like I said, I'm holding Kevin Durant to best player in the world standards. And by the way, if Kevin Durant can win this series without James Harden and Kyrie Irving, and then eventually lead the Brooklyn Nets to their first ever championship this year, I think most people are going to just bow down and say, hey, I can't hate on Kevin Durant anymore. He's the best player in the world. He's validated that. Kevin Durant has a great opportunity to showcase his greatness. Now, again, if he loses this series, am I going to full-on crush the guy? No, not really, because in the grand scheme of things, Brooklyn was rolling before the injuries, and, well, you need star players to win a championship. And I was very hard on LeBron James when he lost to the Phoenix Suns, but I also realized that he was dealing with injuries. Anthony Davis was dealing with injuries, and ultimately, that's a big reason why the Los Angeles Lakers lost that series, But that's how I feel about Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. It's time for Kevin Durant to step up. The pressure's on Kevin Durant for him to prove his greatness while James Harden and Kyrie Irving are out. Injuries are not an excuse for Kevin Durant. He needs to get it done at this point going forward in the playoffs. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God-blessed day, and I'm out.